Today's episode is brought to you by our good friends at fantasychamps.com. If you need a fantasy football championship trophy, a championship ring, or anything else to celebrate your fantasy football season, you've got to go to fantasychamps.com. Now, when you go over there and you buy a trophy or you buy a ring, don't forget to use the promo code BALLERS. That's fantasychamps.com.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from the Play Draft Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome to the podcast.
That was a lot of up and down.
Welcome to the show.
Yeehaw!
I'm almost bearded again. I think by Monday I can trim the neck gristle.
Yeah, right now you just look a little dirty.
Yeah. Well, it's a process. You have to grow it everywhere until you can trim it, and then it looks like a beard again. I'm trying my hardest to grow up a little bit. Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. I am Andy Holloway, joined by Jason Moore and Mike the Fantasy Hitman Wright. We have a great show for you today. It is Thursday, November 2nd, and we have all of the Week 9 matchups on the show today. Well, half of them, actually. We have the other half tomorrow. We also have our starts of the week. Jason's
Starts of the week.
boom, boom kicker.
Yeah, that worked out last week. Thanks.
A butt kicker. Yeah.
The butt was boomed.
And we have a quick question on the show. A great one. I think it was formulated in the mind of the great Judge Giamatti. Is this a Giamatti original?
This off of Twitter.
Ooh.
It's from Mike.
Work smarter, not harder.
From Mike on Twitter. It was between you and him. I didn't know who did it. It was Mike, though. So today's a great show. If you want to follow us, you can do so on YouTube. YouTube.com/fantasyfootballers. The views were up there.
Make sure you subscribe over there.
Yeah, for the YouTube episode.
The Halloween episode.
For our first YouTube ever.
I was still accurate in my statement, however stupid as it was. Yes, for the Halloween episode. And we're on Twitter at the FF Ballers. There is a time change this weekend. Is that right? The clocks, they do something?
Is that for everyone or just for Arizona?
No,
everyone.
It's everyone.
I don't know how time works.
It's everyone but Arizona. You've been here your whole life.
I still have no
idea.
idea.
Hold on.
And
Jason,
Hawaii.
have you ever touched your clock at all to change the time?
Yes. Oftentimes
Wait,
I look
what?
and I say, oh, this clock is wrong.
Yeah, like the power goes out.
Thank you, Mike. So,
Have you ever rolled your clock forward or back an hour in your 35 years in Arizona?
No.
Okay.
Not yet.
So we're not doing anything.
All right.
We're the only ones that don't. But that means that football's a little later now.
Well, you'll have to remind me again next year. I promise you that.
I know. What was this morning? This morning we're trying to Jason didn't understand time zones?
That's the gist of the story.
I don't think anybody truly
The
understands.
good news is for everyone else, the Fantasy Footballers Podcast will be out an hour earlier.
Yeah. That's true. I didn't even think about that.
That's the crux of everything.
All right, quick question from Mike over on Twitter.
Not me.
Who is someone that has underachieved and is going to surprise us the rest of the season, maybe winning some people a FootClan title?
That's a great question. Every year there are guys that you thought, they're going to end up as a bust, and then lo and behold, they win you a championship. I'm going to go with a guy who, look, he's not been a complete bust yet, but he's the 22nd ranked wide receiver, disappointing every owner that has him so far. That's Julio Jones. Julio Jones, I believe, has been terrific this year. He has just not had the touchdowns. I mean, he's got one touchdown right now, and we're over half the season in. And this is indicative of the entire Atlanta Falcons team. If you look at how they've been performing versus the points that they've been scoring, and more so in the passing game, because Devonta Freeman's been very efficient. They've been running the ball in the red zone a lot. I expect that by the end of the season, you're going to be madly in love with Julio Jones like you are every single year. If you can trade for him, if you can get him, if you have him, hold on to him, you're going to be pleasantly surprised. You also have the double New Orleans. I realize their pass defense is better, but you higher scoring games, double New Orleans in the playoffs, and in between that is Tampa Bay, who's been the worst team against wide receivers. Julio all the way.
I'm going with DeMarco Murray. He was my buy low candidate about a month ago. He had his season high in carries the last week he played, despite the fact he had been a little banged up. He's got the bye week, comes out against Baltimore and Cincinnati at home, still has Indianapolis, Arizona, San Francisco on the playoff schedule. I'm very optimistic about DeMarco Murray. I know people look at him and they say he's a bust. He's still a top 24 running back so far this season. And I put my money where my mouth is. He's my dynasty running back. He's my league of record running back. Went out and acquired him before our trade deadline. So I think DeMarco Murray is going to win some people their leagues. I think if you had DeMarco Murray, you might have made some adjustments, and now all of a sudden he's been filling that flex role, but I think he'll perform up to that RB2, RB1 role. So that's my pick.
The name I'm going to throw out is the recently traded Jay Ajayi.
Very interesting.
And I know it's been very disappointing for Jay Ajayi down there in Miami. But here's the thing. He grades out as the 6th best running back over at Pro Football Focus, where they're looking at how is a running back actually performing. Fantasy points have not been there for Jay Ajayi. The offensive line is a mess. He's getting hit nearly every single rushing attempt behind the line. Meanwhile, LeGarrette Blount is down here at 29, and he was racking up the fantasy points for the Philadelphia Eagles because they are a much better team. They're a much better offense. They score more points. There will be more fantasy points, and Jay Ajayi will, in my opinion, he will take over the main role for the Philadelphia Eagles, at least the 2-down back, the goal line back. That might take a few weeks here, but I think that will be Jay Ajayi.
Let's say you were one of the players that went out and spent money on Kenyon Drake or Damian Williams. Based on what you just said and how good Jay Ajayi has been, metrics or through the lens of Pro Football Focus versus his fantasy performance.
Right.
Do you go and trade a player like Drake or Williams on their apparently invisible potential? If
On
they're
the hope?
Yes.
If they're splitting a backfield, do you go trade them for would you trade Drake for Isaiah Crowell, who has an established role, is coming off a better week, versus, if Ajayi couldn't do it by himself, why would these two players be able to do it
I completely agree. And I think that this could be the peak value for either Miami running back. Or maybe not Damian Williams. People don't seem to want him on the team with the news Drake will be the guy.
Most people are listening to Jason.
Or they're watching the games and seeing that Damian Williams is just not a very good running back. I think the hope in Kenyon Drake is the speed.
Right.
Being able to rush to the outside and get the edge. That's never been Jay Ajayi's thing. And when you've got a bad offensive line, just getting to the outside, sealing one side, I think that's a little bit easier. So there is some hope there. But I do completely see the point that, Jay Ajayi is a good running back and was failing with that offensive line. Kenyon Drake will have to do something special. And there is also the option here that Miami kind of figures their offensive line troubles out a little bit. I mean, we saw this last year where they were terrible in the beginning, and they figured things out as the year went on.
But Jason.
Yes. Yes, voice of public appointment who has not gone through puberty or is in the middle of it.
But Jason, the Dolphins don't have Kelvin Benjamin to trade away to make their offense better.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, you didn't.
News and notes from around the league.
People on Twitter were wondering why we did not speak of the great fumbling of the A.J. McCarron trade by the Cleveland Browns.
Well, honestly, because there's all sorts of conflicting stories that I have heard from the Browns camp. So if you haven't heard,
was Kevin Costner involved at all in this process?
That is one of the stories, yes.
Probably. So if you haven't heard, before the trade deadline, the Browns, it looked like there was going to be a last-second acquisition of A.J. McCarron, quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals, backup quarterback.
Trade agreed upon.
Yes, allegedly.
Allegedly completely agreed upon by both teams and submitted to the league office.
Well, and then,
allegedly.
Yeah, and then I've heard both sides. I've heard, the tale that they were so inept that they were celebrating and being happy about it and didn't get it into the league office in time. Also heard that perhaps they didn't really want to go through with that trade. Then there's also tales that the front office from the Cleveland Browns, they leave at 5 o'clock no matter what, and this essentially massively botched the acquisition that could have been for Jimmy Garoppolo. And so then when they screwed up, that they kind of had this A.J. McCarron thing as the let's kind of wash our hands so we don't look as bad.
But the
that didn't go through.
Yeah, the fantasy.
Who knows what's going on here?
Because there was a botched situation where it was supposed to be reported to be a 2 and a 3 traded for A.J. McCarron, the backup quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals, going to the Cleveland Browns. What that says is that if you're in a dynasty league and you've got Kizer and you hope for the future, that's bad news. I mean, that says that maybe the Browns are not going to stick that way, and really give the time and effort. If they're willing to trade multiple picks to go get a different quarterback next year, if they've got a great pick, you don't think they're going to take another shot at a different quarterback if they don't believe it's Kizer? Are there any other fantasy implications in that botched trade?
Dynasty-wise, if you've been holding on to A.J. McCarron, you dodged a bullet.
That's fair.
Better a backup in Cincinnati than a starter in Cleveland?
Yes.
The way Andy Dalton's playing, he could end up being a starter in Cincinnati soon.
Roger Goodell has reinstated Josh Gordon on a conditional basis. He can practice November 20th. He can play on November 27th. Look, it's November 2nd right now. So the real question to me is, okay, Josh Gordon in his quite rose-colored past on the fantasy football field.
That was December 21st, 2014.
Correct. So in a redraft league, do you pick up Josh Gordon and hold him for a month?
No.
Is the question.
No, you don't. No way. Because what you're doing is you're taking up a roster spot with someone that even if you've got an IR, you can't put there. You're literally taking one of your bench spots up for a guy that you know won't play for a month at least because he can't. And then when he comes back, we'll play for the Browns and hopefully be good immediately. I mean, he'll have to be good week 1,
right?
Because now at this point, you're getting into December. You're coming up to the fantasy playoffs, and if you look at the last year that he played, he wasn't that good. I mean, I realized that in 2013 he was the number 1 wide receiver, and he was doing that on a bad Browns team. But to pick him up now, so here's a recap of his 2014 season, the season where he got suspended. Oh, man, week 1 comes out on fire. 16 targets, 8 receptions for 120 yards. The next week, 775, and then he trails off. 2 for 15, 3 for 48, 4 for 45, no touchdowns on the season. And then he got busted and was out of the league for 3 years, and now he comes back. Now, if you want to take that flyer in a couple weeks, if he's still out there on the waiver wires a week before he gets back, sure, he's super physically gifted, and you could take that shot. But to put him on your redraft bench, I think is to hurt your team right now. Do you guys disagree?
No, I completely agree with that. The only way in your dynasty leagues, he's probably still owned. And
if he's not, truth. Pick him up.
Yeah, you pick him up there. If you're in a multiple keeper league, maybe you stash him, but you're not going to get anything this year. It's just nice to see Josh Gordon has earned his way back. Hopefully this is good for Josh Gordon. And because he's 26. He'll be 27 before next football season. But, I mean, we saw like Terrell Pryor. Not that that's necessarily a good example right now, but last year, Terrell Pryor, his first year as a wide receiver, he's, 28? I mean, so there's still time for Josh Gordon to right his career. It just won't be this year.
And I will amend what I'm saying as far as you can't pick him up. If you're in a deeper league, a 14, 16 team that has multiple flex and a deep bench, and there's just garbage out there, then sure, hold on to him and burn one of those spots.
All right. Kyle Shanahan has come out and said he cannot promise Jimmy Garoppolo will play this year. The reality of the situation is he's certainly not playing this week. C.J. Beathard is playing against Arizona. Then they have a bye.
And then,
at this point, you just reevaluate after that. Not a lot of relevance. However, I want him to play for Pierre Garcon. I'm a Pierre Garcon owner. I want a better quarterback behind center that's going to pepper him with targets the way that Brian Hoyer was doing earlier in the year. I think it's very important for Garcon's fantasy value to the end of the season to have Jimmy Garoppolo under center.
Here's the thing. They gave up a second-round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo is in the final year of his contract. That means that for San Francisco to keep him, they will franchise him, give him that money, or they will give him a big contract. Jimmy Garoppolo is playing this year.
Has to.
If he does not play this year, then that is one of the most egregious mistakes I've ever seen a front office and a coaching staff make.
Yeah, because you gave up a pick, whereas you could have just
gone after him in free agency.
Used the offseason to just sign him, although he could have been franchised in New England as well.
But to give up a 2 and not even see what you have is absolutely ridiculous.
All right, Devontae Parker, he's going to return this week against the Raiders.
Whee!
I'm
Hooray!
excited to see him back on the field with Cutler.
So is my fantasy team.
And Jay Ajayi's not there. So I think Parker, Landry, should expect – I mean, Landry's right now on pace for 114 receptions this year.
Nice.
So he's a 180 target pace, something like that. I mean, madness. Terrell Pryor battling a bruised foot, supposedly. I wrote in a
that made me laugh.
plus ego.
I'm sure he's hurt.
Mike Malarkey said Corey Davis is going to start Week 9 against Baltimore.
Pick him up.
Great pickup right now.
Pick him up.
You saw
great pickup, maybe not a great start this week.
Correct.
Yes, pick him up, stash him.
What do you buy? Do you buy into this Seahawks talk that Eddie Lacy's going to be the main man this week against Washington?
I do buy into that talk. You have absolutely no reason on planet Earth to give Thomas Rawls another carry. Eddie Lacy to me –
Or pass.
Or pass. I mean, Eddie Lacy to me on film has looked okay. He really has. I mean, the offensive line there is so bad that it hasn't mattered. No running back's been able to really get the job done unless it was in a extremely plus matchup. Now they go out and they trade for a Pro Bowl caliber offensive lineman to add to the team, and they say, we're just going to give it to Eddie Lacy. When there's no other running backs to pick up, I think right now you do pick up Eddie Lacy, you stash him, see if it's true, because if he's the type of running back where if he gets 20 carries, he can wear a defense down, and if that offensive line is improved with this trade, maybe there's a flex-worthy player in that.
On tomorrow's show, we'll do in and out, which will cover all the injuries, banged-up players, whether we think they're going to start, how we think they'll perform in Week 9. A reminder also, 1 hour before kickoff on Sunday, Mike will be over on Periscope with a little question and answer session.
Yeah, we go over the breaking news, answer some start-sit questions, have a good time. And this will also be an hour later than you're used to, but you won't even notice it.
Right.
Because it's an only hour later for this guy.
That's
Unless
right.
you live in Arizona.
Oh,
right.
yeah, that's a fair point, Brooks. I guess there's other people here.
Yeah, there's the possibility that some people in Arizona listen.
Before we move into the matchups, I want to thank today's sponsor, Pristine Auction. This is where you go to get your authentic signature merchandise. You get those signed jerseys, those signed player jerseys. We're on there every day because they have new stuff every single day, but I wanted to run a couple things by you because there may be some people who are like, I don't have the budget for Pristine Auction. A Le'Veon Bell signed mini helmet just went for $60. A signed Tyreek Hill jersey went for $77.
That's ridiculous.
And here's one. We just said he's a great pickup because he's going to be a great player for a long time. And right now, someone just grabbed a signed Corey Davis jersey for $51. There are deals to be had because it's an auction service, because there's new stuff every single day. You got to go check it out. It's pristineauction.com. PRISTINE auction.com. You make a completely free account. When you do it, make sure you let them know that the Fantasy Footballers sent you.
We also, excuse me, got a frog in my throat. We also want to thank today's sponsor, Casper. You probably heard of the Casper mattress. My wife and I, we bought a Casper mattress a couple of years ago, and we still absolutely love it. And now they have 3 mattress models. They have the original Casper, they have the Wave, and they have the Essential. So Casper mattresses, they are perfectly designed to soothe and cradle your natural geometry, Jason. Your natural geometry. It will be cradled. Not to mention a breathable design helps you sleep cool, regulates your body temperature throughout the night. We absolutely have loved our mattress, and we had been complaining about our previous mattress for a long time. It shows up to your door in a it's such a small box that you're like, well, how did they fit that in there? And free shipping and returns if you don't like it. You get a 100-night free risk-free trial. You can sleep on it. You can see if you love it. I love it. My wife loves it. Start sleeping ahead of the curve today with Casper. Get $50 towards any mattress purchase by visiting Casper.com/footballers and using footballers at checkout. That's Casper.com/footballers. Offer code footballers for $50 off your first mattress purchase. All right, we're going to go ahead and jump right in. Week 9 time.
Fantasy Forecast.
I got word that the executives over at fantasychamps.com did attempt to purchase fantasychamps.gum from the domain registry. It was unfortunately not a real domain.
Also,
they're all locked down by Wrigley's.
Yeah, heads up to the Foot Clan. They have shown us something they're working on that is super cool.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about it.
Yeah,
whoa. Hey,
I don't know if we're allowed to say this yet, but it's very cool for any fantasy player coming up. So stay tuned.
That's like the teaser trailer that comes out 2 years before the movie.
Maybe. I don't know.
You just gave. Except for this will be out in like 2 weeks.
Maybe.
All right. Week 9 buys. Just a reminder, the Bears, Browns, Chargers, Patriots, Steelers, and Vikings. They're on bye. If you play their players, you get 0 points. So don't do it. All right, Thursday Night Football, any updates for the game tonight? I'm personally quite excited to watch the Buffalo Bills and New York Jets take on one another tonight.
I think I can agree with that. This is one of those later Thursday matchups where you go, hey, at the beginning of the year, you saw it on the docket. You thought, what else can I do on a Thursday night? But you're 2 winning teams.
Not record-wise. I mean,
okay. Well, what are the Jets?
3-5.
All right.
They should be 4.
But they've been right in every matchup, and Josh McCown's playing well.
Two competent teams.
And then the Bills are 5-2. They're traveling to New York, trying to go to 6-2. I'm excited.
Reminder: get your if you have any players in this game, if you are starting Kelvin Benjamin, which
maybe you are,
or anyone on either side of the ball that is in your flex position, get him out of that position, put him at running back or at wide receiver or at tight end, so that you can free up the flex for more news that happens as the week goes on.
I think one of the, we get a lot of questions, and I think every question comes with a little bit of a confidence meter, right? Like there are questions we answer, and we're like, yeah, I'm like, 80% sure that he's going to have a good game tonight. Like LeSean McCoy tonight, right? Nice performance against the Jets. I'm about 90% sure you're going to be happy with LeSean McCoy tonight. When it comes to all these questions coming in about Kelvin Benjamin and starting him, playing him tonight, I've got about a 10% confidence meter on what his role is going to be. I don't know. I imagine if he's on the field, they're not going to take their shiny new toy and not throw him the ball at all. So I think if he's on the field, he's going to see some targets. It's just a matter of, is he going to be 3 for 28 tonight?
Right.
Or is he going to be, 5 for 50 and a touchdown? I don't know what that variable will be. You're going to have to look at your team as a fantasy owner and say, I want to take that risk. I want to have fun. Sometimes you want to play the guy on Thursday Night Football and watch him on his new team.
But in general, I am pretty confident that his total targets will be very, very down from what has been so far on this season for week 9. So
yep,
take that for whatever you think you want it to be. That's the best I can do for you.
That was some very rock solid analysis.
I was going to try to repeat it, but there's no way I could get the words in the right order.
You want to start that guy? Sure. You want to bench him?
You want to come on the show? Why don't you tell us what to do?
Honestly, call in right now with your Kelvin Benjamin hot take. My confidence level of his height is near 100%, though. He's very tall.
Yes.
Falcons, Panthers in Carolina. Panthers 2-point favorites in this one, 43.5-point over-under. A couple of teams that I don't know if we know what they are yet.
That's fair.
And I do know that I really like Christian McCaffrey in this matchup. I feel like the trade of Kelvin Benjamin has further solidified his baseline. We'll talk about him in a little while.
Did you know that this is the first divisional game for the Atlanta Falcons on the season? Half the season is over, and they have not played a single in-division game. This is the first.
Who'd they pay for that?
Well, it was like the 28-3 thing. We're gonna give you some time to figure your team out.
Yeah, I guess we know they play New Orleans twice in 3 weeks towards the end of the year, so that's interesting. Matt Ryan, you're starting him in this matchup? How's your confidence? Panthers' defense has been good.
They've been fantastic. They're allowing under 16 points a game, ranked 5th against the run, ranked 3rd against the pass. I mean, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for Matt Ryan and the whole Atlanta offense. I'm still willing to play Ryan. Freeman and Coleman, I guess with Freeman being banged up, is Coleman still that every week flex, or are you willing to bench him this particular week, even with all those teams on bye?
No, this week I'm willing to play both as per usual. I realize Carolina is a pretty good defense, but I think the downgrade of Atlanta's offense has been a little bit overstated. Their offense has not been as bad as most people think it has been, mostly because Matt Ryan has not been throwing touchdowns. Freeman has been safe. Coleman has been safe pretty much every week except this last week, and I'm willing to roll both of them out there. I have both as top 20 running backs this week despite the difficult matchup.
The one thing you cannot count on from a running back in Carolina is a touchdown. And the Falcons defense, when you mix that together, they only give up 0.3 rushing touchdowns per game.
That's less than one.
That's less than one. So you're not expecting that. Jonathan Stewart at this point, the only value he provides you is if he falls forward into the end zone. So
yeah, and he got lucky last week that Cameron Artis-Payne was given a couple opportunities close to the goal line, I believe from the 6th and then the 3 before Jonathan Stewart had the leaping touchdown. I don't want to play Stewart. I'm still I'm interested in Funchess. Are you guys playing him as well with the new perceived upgrade?
Scrumptious.
I apologize to Devin Scrumptious.
Devin Scrumptious is a
Any
must.
questions?
Oh man,
David S. Scrumptious.
Devin
S. Scrumptious.
Any questions?
That's just mixing so many things together.
No, I
for the benefit of the listener.
I think he is a must start. Devin Scrumptious should have enough targets to matter.
Is he part of it?
Now, yes, yes. I want to go back though.
My own thing.
I disagree a little bit with Andy on Jonathan Stewart.
Really?
Yeah, I think Jonathan Stewart's a fine play this week. Atlanta might not be giving up touchdowns, but they haven't been great against the running back position. You got rid of Kelvin in part because you want to run the ball more.
Give me
I know that
No, it's fine. How good would you say?
I have him right now as my running back 21. So if you want to take if you're wanting a water bet and you want to say top 30.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's 9 spots away from where I have him ranked.
That's a lot.
Why wouldn't you put him like at top 20?
I don't even have him in my top 20. Why would I bet that he's going to be where I don't even have him to finish? That makes no sense.
That does make no sense. However, I thought you were, going to move him up after that speech.
No, I'm saying that as RB21, that's a startable asset in my rankings, and I think that you could have a serviceable game here from Jonathan Stewart.
Top 25.
I don't want to do it, but I'm going to do it.
Oh, you got bullied.
I got bullied, Mike.
Waterbets.
Yeah, you got bullied into taking a bet 4 spots ahead of 4 spots farther than where you have him ranked.
It's a bad bet.
For me or for him?
Jason.
Okay. We need to move on. The Bengals and the Jacksonville Jaguars are they're going to play this weekend. Jags, 5-point favorites at home, a 39.5 point over-under. I could see that game being under 39.5 points. Andy Dalton, he's been struggling. Joe Mixon, he's been getting carries, but he hasn't really had a breakout performance. He had a big reception last week, but this team, this offense right now, look, the Jags, statistically, they give it up to the running back. How confident would you be in Joe Mixon this week?
Not. You still play him, but the Bengals offense, they are scoring less than 16 points a game, which is 5th worst in the league. It's pathetic, really. And I know that statistically, you're right. The Jags have they're allowing a lot of rushing yards, but when you combine the fact that the overall offense for the Cincinnati Bengals has been so bad, their offensive line is so bad, and the Jaguars, they they specialize. It's Saxonville for a reason. Calais Campbell.
Ooh, I haven't heard that one. I like it.
Oh, what? You haven't heard that?
I haven't.
That's been going since week 1, man. You got to get your head out the clouds.
I hadn't heard it either, Mike.
What is wrong with you guys? Oh,
Hey, Brooks, had you heard that before?
They literally changed the official team Twitter name to the Saxonville Jaguars at one point during this season. But Calais Campbell has been a monster acquisition. So because of that and just the ineptitude of the Bengals overall, that gives me very little confidence in Joe Mixon.
Lev Bell put up 18 for 56 against Jacksonville.
Right.
Over the last 3 weeks, they actually have been far better than they had been. They had that crazy New York Jets game that has kind of messed up their whole metrics. They're more middle of the pack for fantasy running backs, and with Mixon.
Well, they made a trade to improve their run.
They did.
So it coincides. It makes a lot of sense. We've also seen, like, when the Bengals played the Pittsburgh Steelers, when you're facing a team that can control the clock on the ground, like the Jacksonville Jaguars could do with Leonard Fournette, and then you're down the second half, Joe Mixon didn't get a carry, you go, okay, that could happen in this game script.
Exactly.
Joe Mixon gets enough involvement where, okay, he's a flex-worthy start. I think he's fine if you need to start him. I'm not saying bench Joe Mixon, but I'm not excited to play him. A.J. Green, you have to start.
You still start.
He's A.J. Green, and then it's nothing.
I'm okay.
Tyler Kroft.
I'm okay playing Kroft.
Kroft is actually my start of the week. So
I don't blame you.
We'll talk about the reasons behind that pick in a little bit. Let's talk about the other side. Specifically, I think people want to know how you guys view D.D. Westbrook rest of season. He was the best collegiate wide receiver last year. This was a player that flashed in the preseason, led the preseason in yardage.
Right.
I really like him. Allen Robinson's out the way. Hearns and Lee have been inconsistent. If you had to put that kind of like lottery ticket pick on Westbrook being a somebody that can help your end of season team, I kind of like him.
Yeah, I don't mind the pickup at all of D.D. Westbrook. The Twitter machine, the love for D.D. Westbrook right now is a peaking. It burns your face off when you jump on Twitter. People, the way they talk about D.D. Westbrook.
Sorry, are you putting the suntan lotion on, or what are you doing?
Well, I am. I got to protect myself from that hype for a rookie who has been on the IR, but but he's got talent. He's worth a stash. I'm not going to play him this week against the Bengals pass defense. But
you like him a lot more than John Ross the rest of the season?
Yes.
Okay.
John Ross is just – that John Ross has negative fantasy points?
Combined on the season.
Not just like a week because
I thought
negative.
he'd be used last week with Tyler Boyd out and Ross being active, and he never got no receptions. So let's talk about the Rams and the Giants. The Giants are
real quick, would you play – because Fournette, he's a must-play. Would you play Chris Ivory?
No.
Okay.
The Rams and the Giants. Giants are 3.5-point underdogs at home, 42-point over-under. Jared Goff and the Rams coming off the bye week. What are the storylines here? You're starting Gurley. Mike, Goff was your stream of the week, was it not?
Yeah, he certainly is.
Where's the confident? Which you have Janoris Jenkins out. Who are you most confident in at the wide receiver position for the Rams?
Most confidence? None of them. They're all about equal, but Jason's love for Sammy Watkins, he's got this smirk on his face, and he's side-eyeing me right now because Sammy Watkins with Janoris Jenkins out gets a perceived big upgrade, and he could be a sneaky snart this week.
He actually leads the NFL. Did you know this? In perceived fantasy points this year. He's number 1 in perceived fantasy points.
He took over Kevin White's spot?
From
he
last
edged
year.
him out?
Yeah, from last year. So, honestly, Jason, if you're in a perceived points league.
Yeah, no, he's an absolutely great play in perceived points leagues. Has been solid.
PPR
has been solid all year.
Mixon's up there, too.
Yeah,
here's why. So, look, Robert Woods, to me, is the guy that if you're looking for a floor, he's been involved. I think 4 out of his last 5 weeks, he's had 5 receptions or more. Robert Woods is not going to be the guy that's going to win you a week. But if you need a flex option, that you're good elsewhere and you just need someone to score some points, not put up a goose, I think that's Robert Woods. In general,
I'd go
average,
Cup is my favorite.
Okay, so that's exactly. You got Sammy Watkins, you got Cup, you got Woods. It could be any of them, and 2/3 are probably going to stink. That's why I like Sammy Watkins, because in this matchup without Janoris Jenkins, I don't think there's a debate. Tell me, please tell me that you two do not think that Cooper Kupp or Robert Woods are a more talented wide receiver than Sammy Watkins.
Physically talented?
Yes, just at talent as a wide receiver. Now, I'm not talking targets or better for the offense. I'm just saying,
as far as
you're a general manager and you can draft one of those three right now.
Yeah, of course you take Sammy Watkins, but just because he's the more physically gifted wide receiver, some guys just fit schemes better.
I completely agree with that. But in this matchup where you don't know who to go with, and there's no reason to say there's a bad matchup for Sammy, right, I'm going to take the ceiling play.
Sure.
Yeah, and I'm going to take Cup because it's not been about matchups for Sammy Watkins. It's been about involvement. So I'm going to take the much more involved player in Cooper Kupp.
For the Rams, the tight end position, the New York Giants have given up at least a touchdown a game, at least one, every single week to the tight end position. Are you putting the chips on Gerald Everett or Tyler Higbee to continue that streak?
Everett?
Was that two names at the exact same time?
It was about to be. I lean Higbee, but I mean it's a crapshoot. It's
all right.
Coin flip.
We should do a Watkins Higbee versus Kupp and Everett bet.
Oh my gosh. What is happening?
You guys are a bunch of degenerates.
Jason.
Why am I getting bullied into these trades?
Waterbet.
I think that is the first official water bet that has not been agreed to.
Involuntary.
Well, I'm in now.
Yeah.
I mean,
You're all about it.
The Giant side, Jason, your boy finally plays. Sterling Shepard.
love Sterling Shepard. I realize the Rams have a pretty good pass defense, but Sterling Shepard is the #1 target, even over Evan Ingram.
We'll see.
Sure.
No, I'm with you. I love Sterling Shepard this week. One of the things you have to do as a fantasy owner is when situations drastically change and you're on your provider, Yahoo, ESPN, whatever it is, and you're seeing something like, Evan Ingram going up against a tough tight end defense, top 10 tight end defense. Well, the situation in New York has changed so drastically over the last year. His involvement, his history, Sterling's involvement, his history, those things you throw out the window, you put the blinders on those numbers, and you need to kind of look forward. And I think Ingram and Shepard both have very, very interesting rest of season projections.
Sure. And what about the Rams defense? They have allowed over a touchdown, 1.1 rushing touchdowns per game. Do you have any interest in Darkwa?
Yeah, Darkwa I think is a flex-worthy play.
I have none.
That's a great matchup.
I understand. Yeah, and it's a really nasty backfield, so I'm not interested in Orleans Darkwa. Jason is, but that's the tale of today.
Yeah.
Polar opposite picks on everything. So
that's rare, but it's happening. Week 9.
It's happening right now. Broncos-Eagles. Eagles are 8-point favorites. The Broncos are a mess. Brock Osweiler is going to start at quarterback for the Denver Broncos.
Whee!
The Eagles, 43.5 point, or the over-under is 43.5 points in this game. I think the real question for fantasy owners comes down to confidence levels on players like Wentz, Ajayi, Jeffrey, and Aguilar, all players that have been played pretty much all season long. But is there anybody, that you're going to say, hey, take a break, sit on the bench for a week? I know they're at home, but it's Denver. Denver's the second best run D, sixth best pass D. I looked at the numbers. There's not a quarterback that's really, gone past the 23, 25-point mark, depending on your league scoring format. What do you do with those players, Mike?
I don't want to play them. I try and find a different option.
But do you play like Josh McCown tonight over Carson Wentz?
No.
Do you play Tyrod Taylor tonight over Carson Wentz? Or do you just stay in the
Yeah, I think with Carson Wentz, because the game is at home, you stay in the flames with him. But those wide receivers I want out.
Yeah, I agree. Aguilar and Alshon Jeffrey.
Massive downgrades.
Really difficult cornerback matchups. The wide receivers are taken out of the game. That being said, Denver is beat regularly at the tight end position.
Oh, yeah, Zach Ertz.
Zach Ertz is going to be great, which will help Carson Wentz. And we saw a little while ago what happens, where it's like, oh, it's not fair that Carson Wentz had such a great fantasy day. He got put in good positions. Well, Brock Osweiler.
Someone says it's not fair?
No, well, actually, Andy
that was
the
not
one.
fair.
Andy.
Sound like my children.
When we were watching, it was like, it's like, he shouldn't have a good fantasy day, but he keeps getting the ball at the other team's 20-yard line and throwing a touchdown.
Okay, I see.
That could happen here. Brock Osweiler, that's part of what makes me less afraid to play Carson Wentz is the fact that Brock Osweiler is a quarterback. They're going to get the ball. The Eagles are going to get the ball in some plus field positions through the course of the game. And I Wentz I'm fine with. Ertz I'm fine with. Not so much on the wide receivers.
All right. Paul Richardson, would you play Paul Richardson over Aguilar or Jeffrey?
I would.
Would you play him over Jeffrey?
Probably over Alshon Jeffrey as well. Right. The running back position for the Denver Broncos, fantasy-wise, it seems like a mess. C.J. Anderson is playing well, but he's not getting enough volume to really be more than a running back 2. Jamal Charles, they said he was going to get more involved.
He was.
And he was. I mean,
Devontae Booker?
It was actually not his – he had 10 rushing attempts week 1. But he was back up to 8. But then Booker is really the thorn in this fantasy backfield, especially that he's playing well. And so they have to keep giving him reps. He's playing well in the passing game. You probably have to start Anderson.
I'm not starting
No
Anderson.
way.
Really?
Yeah,
no way.
I'm with Andy, and I
this
know
offense is going to be terrible.
How weird is
but
this?
You have to look at someone's roster who has
I don't
C.J.
care.
Anderson.
Yeah,
Okay,
A lot of bye weeks this week.
Yeah, I mean, there's
there's a situation.
Put a situation out there.
that's
Then,
I have to figure one out for you.
Look, at the end of the day, we're all subjectively answering that question. When you say, "Are you playing C.J. Anderson?" The answer is, "I don't want to."
Yeah,
right,
and I agree. It would take a really bad situation, and those happen. I mean, I'm playing Kenyon Drake in one of my leagues. Would I rather play Kenyon Drake? Here's a question for you.
Easily.
Yeah, I think I would as well.
Wow.
The Eagles are the number one team against the run. All the Eagles need to do is let Brock Osweiler throw the football. This is what teams – and now C.J. Anderson is part of a three-headed monster on the road against the best run D.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get why you would play him.
I'm a C.J. Anderson truther.
I'm just talking about who's on your bench that you can replace him with.
You got to give me a choice. All
right, Damian Williams. Because
Damian Williams.
So Damian Williams or C.J. Anderson?
I'm trying to pull up teams in leagues that I'm playing.
I'd probably play C.J. Anderson over Damian Williams.
Okay, C.J. Anderson or Darren McFadden?
I would go C.J. Anderson.
Yeah, I'd probably play Anderson.
Hold on, I'm pulling up another team. Sorry, it's taking so long.
Is it a list of inactive players?
No. Okay. So C.J. Anderson or Jay Ajayi?
Oh, Ajayi.
Just traded to a new team.
Yes.
I was actually hoping you guys would talk about Ajayi.
Again, we were going to get there. So you'd rather play the guy who's just recently traded against Denver?
Correct.
That's madness.
How much madness?
Yes, do it. That's madness.
Waterbets.
You don't even know if Jay Ajayi will get 5 carries.
You know that C.J. Anderson will get 5 carries.
Yes.
That's it.
No, C.J. Anderson will be over 10 carries. If I have to take one of those two, your higher upside play is Jay Ajayi in the hopes that he just gets super involved.
Yeah, and they go hot hand and decide to stick with him.
I would probably side with C.J. Anderson here. I would play C.J. Anderson over Jay Ajayi.
All right, Jay Ajayi.
And LeGarrette Blount. I mean, look, the Denver defense against the running backs have been not good. They've been great. The one weirdo game where, after New York lost every wide receiver that they had, and they go and it's expected to be just the easiest cakewalk for Denver, and Denver doesn't show up, and they let Orleans Darkle run all over them. Outside of that one weirdo game, Denver has shut down everybody. And we're not talking good running backs. We're talking great running backs. They've shut down Kareem Hunt. They've shut down
Zeke.
They've shut down Shady.
Yes.
The combination of LeGarrette Blount and some of Jay Ajayi is not getting it done against Denver.
Yeah, and we have at least the Eagles VP of football operations has said that Blount is the starting running back, at least for this week.
Makes sense. Jay Ajayi's been there for a couple days.
I agree.
Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders. Sanders should be back.
Yeah, you play them. Brock Osweiler, for his ineptitude, Demaryius Thomas and Sanders have had success with him at quarterback, and the Eagles' pass defense can be beat. So,
and we're going to talk about A.J. Derby.
Ooh, certainly. We certainly are.
Aren't we, Mike?
Maybe.
Indianapolis Colts take on the Houston Texans. Texans are 13-point favorites. That's maybe generous to the Colts. 48.5-point over-under.
That is brutal.
That's
the truth can be can be brutal.
It sets you free, but it can be painful.
DeShone Watson, Lamar Miller, DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller, starting them all.
Fire him up.
Will Fuller, Jason, you're going to talk about him in a little while. The real question is
what?
Jack Doyle. You can start him. He's been great.
The baby hands have been stronger than usual.
Yeah. I'll talk about him as well.
What about Frank Gore, Marlon Mack? What do you do there? What do you do with T.Y. Hilton? They came out and said they need to get him the ball more. We talked about him earlier in the week and trying to trade him away.
They literally said that 2 weeks ago as well when they came out and got him the ball. None. Or close to none. I don't, look, they need to get T.Y. Hilton the ball more. It's difficult to do when your quarterback drops back and is sacked. And the defensive line, even without J.J. Watt, is still one of the best parts of the Houston Texans defense. Jadeveon Clowney has been complete beast mode, and he's going to give Jacoby Brissett struggles in finding T.Y. Hilton. Maybe they'll get him some screens, and T.Y. Hilton can get something done. He's a talented wide receiver, but I'm not about the wide receivers there. The number one pass catcher isn't T.Y. Hilton. The number one pass catcher for the Colts is Jack Doyle.
Sure. What about Frank Gore coming off that big game, 16 for 82 last week? The Texans have a pretty stout run defense on the year.
I prefer Marlon Mack than Gore in this matchup.
I'd take them both over C.J. Anderson.
That's fine. I wouldn't argue with that you're going to play Marlon Mack over him.
Okay, let's find out who we are about this week.
Starts of the week.
Jason, kick it off with your start of the week at the quarterback position.
All right, my quarterback start of the week this week is Alex Smith. He had a somewhat down week this last week, and you might be saying, okay, is he
the number one quarterback is your start of the week?
He sure is. Look, Alex Smith.
You following that up with Lev Bell?
Yes, Lev Bell. I'm going to also say that you need to start.
Even though he's on bye.
Oh man, don't start Lev Bell. You really hoodwinked me there. No, look, there are owners who are waiting for Alex Smith to come back to earth, and he did. And I think Dallas secondary is atrocious. You start Alex Smith over darn near everybody, and so he is my start of the week this week. It's always tough at quarterback because we do the streamers where we're going low and we're saying, okay, not the obvious plays. But then you go with the quarterback start of the week, but you don't want to go to the top. Some people still don't see Alex Smith at the top. I think the upgrade for Alex Smith has been
Jason,
real.
You stared those people in the face.
Yeah, and I said, watch me.
I'm not afraid to pick the number one guy to be my start of the week.
Yeah. Start of the week. All right.
Deshaun Watson is my new start of the week at the quarterback position. No, I'm going with Matthew Stafford. Golden Tate is back, and the matchup is great against Green Bay. Maybe smooth rounds? Anyone?
No.
No?
No, he probably won't be out there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he could be back. But regardless of that, the matchup is solid. I really like Matthew Stafford more than usual this week.
I like Tyrod Taylor. The Jets game tonight, I think it's going to be a fun one. He's got his new weapon in Kelvin Benjamin. He's been playing well. One of the impressive things to me about Tyrod Taylor, only 2 turnovers this year, which has been the recipe for victory.
Impressive.
The recipe for victory for Buffalo has been great defense, limit the problems on the offensive side of the ball, the turnovers. And the Jets have given up 2+ touchdowns in all their weeks, but 2 this entire year. They're a very beatable secondary, and Tyrod offers you a very high floor with the rushing yardage. So I love Tyrod Taylor. He's my start of the week, as well as my stream of the week.
Double up.
Yeah, Mike. All right, let's go Jason's running back start of the week.
Sure, my running back start of the week is Alvin Kamara. He has been great since the Adrian Peterson.
LaShawn McCoy.
Since Adrian Peterson has been gone, Alvin Kamara has been terrific. The Tampa Bay run defense is not that great. And this has one of the highest over-unders. He's at home. I think Alvin Kamara is a guy that you could, you're going to start him as basically an RB1. So there's no team that I imagine you're going to want to sit Alvin Kamara on.
Mike?
I'm going to go with Adrian Peterson, which is look, the matchup says that's kind of easy since San Francisco is giving up by far the most points to the running back position. But there's also that hesitation of Carson Palmer is gone, Drew Stanton is in, and he stinks. So you could get game scripted out, but that's why I'm saying he is my start of the week, that I still feel very confident that Adrian Peterson will eat up the San Francisco 49ers.
All right, I'm going to go with one of the worst running backs in football, Christian McCaffrey, because he catches the football. The baseline is really sexy now for Christian McCaffrey. I mean, it's not a matter of whether he'll receive the ball. It's just what is he going to do with his 6 receptions.
Sure.
And so I think, with Benjamin out the door, he's pretty much wide receiver 2 out of the backfield for that team. I mean, if Devin Funchess is the 1, McCaffrey's the 2. Maybe McCaffrey's, in that situation like we expected in Baltimore where – Danny Woodhead could have led that team in receptions had he been healthy all year.
He would have.
So Christian McCaffrey, start of the week.
Still might.
Jason, I see you're going with the number 1 wide receiver over the last 4 weeks.
You're darn right I am. And you can
What is happening?
You can say whatever you want.
I will.
But Andy has been throwing shade every week saying, hey, now's not the time.
Why am I called out by name?
Will Fuller has been.
I didn't even get on your case.
Hot fire. I know this is just the. I feel like Mike's on a mission here.
Well, I'm reading in the doc here. Your tight end start of the week is Zach Ertz.
You darn right. No, it's not. Will Fuller, he has touchdown regression coming for sure. He's not scoring 60 touchdowns. He's not going to get 2 touchdowns a week, but he's still a very good wide receiver who's lightning fast, and he's playing in a matchup where the Indianapolis Colts give up huge plays all the time. That's their big problem is the big play. That's Will Fuller's specialty. So I don't care if he only gets 2 or 3 targets in this game. He's going to take those 2 or 3 targets for, 80-plus yards and a touchdown. And if he gets, 4 targets, he'll probably get 4 touchdowns. So Will Fuller, you got to stay in the flames. I apologize to Deshaun Watson.
All right, my wide receiver start of the week. I'm going with Ted Ginn because Tampa Bay, they're giving up the 3rd most points per game to the wide receiver position, and he has had at least 66 yards or a touchdown in 4 of the last 5 matchups. So I think that Ted Ginn has worked his way in. You gotta trust him as that flex, maybe even a wide receiver 2 position.
So Ginn is in.
Ginn is in.
I'm going to go with Golden Tate.
If you want to win.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. That would win first grade.
Where would you like to begin,
Poetry contest.
Andy?
Golden Tate, I'm going to match up with your Matthew Stafford start of the week.
Ooh.
Second week back from the injury.
Combo.
Plays Green Bay. He'll be peppered with targets. He's still the most reliable target source in Detroit. So Golden Tate's the start of the week. Let's go to the tight end position. Jason, I'm almost positive he's the number 1 tight end over the last 4 weeks.
You're darn right. No, Jack Doyle, baby hands. He's had a bad game and some good games, but Jack Doyle is the number 1 target. I expect Houston to be out leading in this game. This is the game that I'm really wanting to watch. This Houston-Indianapolis game. I expect there to be a lot of points put up by Houston. Indy's going to have to throw the ball a lot, and it's going to go to Jack Doyle, whose market share has been unbelievable.
I'm going with I'm going to go last. Mike, go ahead.
Sure. I'm going to go. I gave you a tight end streamer last week. I believe it was Tyler Kroft. And this week, my tight end start streamer of the week is A.J. Derby, tight end for the Denver Broncos. Philadelphia giving the 7th most points to the tight end position. But here's the deal. Last year, when Brock Osweiler was the quarterback for the Houston Texans, the tight end position accounted for 51% of their receptions. The second highest for the tight end, 34%. Brock Osweiler locked on to the tight end position last year. I expect A.J. Derby to get more targets than usual. He scored last week. He is the top pass-catching option for the tight end position for the Broncos. So if you're in a pickle, I'm going to pick him up.
All right. I'm going Tomb Raider. Tyler Kroft once again. Look, the Bengals, we talked about the matchup with Jacksonville. Jacksonville shuts down the wide receiver position. I mean, Tyler Kroft, he's had a very nice baseline lately ever since Eifert went out. He's already, just on the season, he's the 15th best tight end. And the consistency, I love it. Jacksonville's 20th against the tight end. You're going to get what you want with the tight end that's not elite, which is at least 4 or 5, 6 catches. I think Tyler Kroft is the pass-catching option there this week outside of A.J. Green. So those are our starts of the week. Before we close out the show, it's the all-important Butker segment.
Oh.
Jason Moore's ironclad, locked and loaded, 100% guaranteed boom boom kicker of the week.
This week, we get nuts. We go with Will Lutz.
I think
following up Mike's first grade.
You need a rhyme for every boom boom kicker of the week from here on out.
All right, it shall happen.
Because the
There's
analysis,
going to be a lot of Will Lutz. A lot of Will Lutz.
It's all going to be rhyme-based kickers only.
Mm-hmm.
Butker's going to be a tougher one.
Yeah, Tavecchio.
What are you talking about? Things get scary with Adam Vinatieri.
There you go.
Oh, my gosh.
All right, well, we know next week's. This week, Will
You
Lutz.
want Dr. Seuss rhymes, you know where to go.
You go to the beard.
I'm right over here.
Stop. Otherwise, I'll be rhyming a Justin Tucker thing, and I don't really want to.
Oh, no. Don't do it.
Pucker up with Justin Tucker.
Oh, sure. Ooh, sure. Wink, wink.
You guys. Thanks for listening to the Fantasy Footballers podcast. It's Dad and his 2 boys signing out.
Hey,
we'll talk to you tomorrow. Check out draft.com/ballers. Come play some DFS with us.
If you play Justin Tucker.
Goodbye.
Oh, never mind.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.